Here today, in this place, scattered as we are, and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. So the theme for this month is deep listening. And I had a few thoughts about deep listening. It's something that is a somewhat rare commodity in our society and in our world at this particular moment. But I think the only way forward will involve deep listening in some form. Listening on its own is not going to do it. It's going to take a lot more than just listening. But anything that we try to do without listening first, I think, is doomed to fail and just end in further despair and frustration. So, in that way, I think that listening has to be a part of anything and everything that we do, any serious endeavor or undertaking, at least. I'm going to share with you right now a little piece of music that Mary and I did for this past Sunday service, but I think bears repeating. This is one of the songs from our hymnal called Hush.
Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do?
More on the theme of listening. This is a piece that was written by Rachel Naomi Remen, who is an author who his background is in working with cancer patients. I think that she still does. And this piece by her is called Just Listen. I suspect that the most basic and powerful way to connect to another person is to listen. Just listen. Perhaps the most important thing we ever give each other is our attention. And perhaps if it's given from the heart, especially, when people are talking, there's no need to do anything but receive them. Just take them in. Listen to what they're saying. Care about it. Most times, caring about it is even more important than understanding it. Most times, caring about it is even more important than understanding. Most of us don't value ourselves or our love enough to know this. It has taken me a long time to believe in the power of simply saying, I'm sorry when someone is in pain and meaning it. One of my patients told me that when she tried to tell her story, often people interrupted her to tell her that they once had something just like that happen to them. Suddenly, her pain became a story about themselves. Eventually, she stopped talking to most people. It was just too lonely. We connect through listening. When we interrupt what someone is saying to let them know that we understand, we move the focus of attention to ourselves. When we listen, they know we care. Many people with cancer talk about the relief of having someone just listen. I have even learned to respond to someone crying by just listening. In the old days, I used to reach for the tissues until I realized that passing a person a tissue may just be another way to shut them down, to take them out of their experience of sadness and grief. Now I just listen. When they have cried all they need to cry, they find me there with them. This simple thing has not been easy to learn. It certainly went against everything I had been taught since I was very young. I thought people listened only because they were too timid to speak or did not know the answer. A loving silence often has far more power to heal and to connect than the most well intentioned words. I'm going to repeat that last sentence. A loving silence often has far more power to heal and to connect than the most well intentioned words. I think as you use, we tend to be big on words and on talking, and often um, talking is sort of at the middle of everything we do, whether it's a sermon that's delivered or whether it's discussion groups or whether it's discussion during coffee hour. But the most important work that's happening is really not the talking, it's the listening that's occurring during those times. And that's what makes it special, sacred, holy time together. With that, I'm going to share one more musical piece with you. This was a piece that was recorded and produced by Leah Morris, who is a UU from the greater Washington, D.C. area. And the name of this piece, I believe, is simply called Listening.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My ears are wide open. My eyes are now open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. In this moment of Spirit, speaks through me. I can hear the voices of all my kind. I'm listening, singing. I listening, this tweeting and howling into the wind. My ears are wide open, and oh, the joy. My eyes are wide open, oh, the love to see what I for you and me. Oh, I'm listening in this moment of silence. I am listening. I hear Spirit speak through me.
That was Leah Morris again, and I want to thank her for giving us permission to use that during this evening's Vespers service. One of the things about this whole pandemic time is discovering UU musicians and content providers from all over the country, and she's one that does a consistently good job with just beautiful music. There's a story that I'd like to share with you that I think demonstrates, at least in my mind, the power of listening, how it can transform communities and start to transform the world. This story, which some of you have heard before, concerns a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. It was a great order of monks, but over time it had shrunk and most of its branches were closed. And now there was just one house left with these monks, only 5 of them, the abbot and 4 elders, and they were all over 70 years of age. This order of monks was clearly on its way out. It was a dying order. In the deep woods surrounding the monastery, there was a little hut that a rabbi from the city occasionally came out to use as a hermitage. And the old monks had sort of been around so long they could sense when the rabbi was there and when he wasn't. And when he was, it was sort of an exciting event for them. They'd say, the rabbi is in the woods. And it occurred to them at one point that it might be wise to approach the rabbi to see if he had some advice about how they might save their monastery. So the abbot went to visit the rabbi's hut, and the rabbi let him in. But when the abbot explained why he was there, the rabbi said, I know how it is. It just seems like everywhere the spirit has gone out of the people. He said, it's the same in the city. Almost no one comes to the synagogue anymore. So the old abbot and the old rabbi sat and wept and talked together. They read parts of the Torah to one another and they comforted each other. And when the abbot got up to leave, they embraced each other. The abbot said, it's been wonderful that we should finally meet after all of these years, but I failed in my purpose in coming here. Is there nothing you can tell me that would help me save our dying order? No, I'm sorry, the rabbi responded. I have no advice to give. But, he added, as the abbot was on his way out the door, I can tell you that the Messiah is one of you. Great parting line. When the abbot returned to his monastery, his fellow monks gathered around him and asked him, well, what did the rabbi have to say? And the abbot said, the rabbi said something very mysterious. It was something cryptic. He said that the Messiah is one of us. I don't know what he meant by that. And in the time that followed, the old monks wondered what was the significance of the rabbi's words. The Messiah is one of us. Could he possibly mean one of us monks? And if so, which one? Do you suppose he meant the abbot? Yes, they thought. If he meant anyone, he probably meant Father Abbot. He's been the leader of the order for more than a generation. On the other hand, he might have meant Brother Thomas. Brother Thomas is certainly a holy man, a man of light. but certainly he could not have meant Brother Elred. Elred gets crotchety at times. But come to think of it, even though he is a thorn in people's sides, when you look back on it, Elred is virtually always right, often very right. Maybe the rabbi did mean Brother Elred, but surely not Brother Philip. Philip is so passive, a real nobody, like he's almost not even there. But then mysteriously, he has a gift for always being there when you do need him. He just magically appears. Maybe Brother Philip is the Messiah. And each of the monks thought, of course, the rabbi didn't mean me. He couldn't possibly have meant me. I'm just an ordinary person. Yet supposing he did, supposing I am the Messiah, that couldn't be. And as they contemplated these things over the course of days and weeks, the old monks began to listen to each other deeply and treating each other with extraordinary respect on the chance that one among them might be the Messiah. And so it was that they began listening and treating each other very differently than they had in years. People still occasionally came to the forest around this monastery and had a picnic on its lawn and meditated in front of its dilapidated chapel. And as they did so, they sensed the aura of extraordinary respect that began to surround the 5 old monks and seemed to radiate out from them and permeate the atmosphere of the place. There was something strangely compelling about it. Hardly knowing why, these visitors began to come back to the monastery to picnic, to play, and sometimes to pray. They brought their friends to this special place, and their friends brought their own friends. Then some of the younger men who came to visit the monastery started to talk to more and more of the old monks. And after a while, one of them asked if he could join them, and then another and another. So within a few years, the monastery had once again become a thriving order. And thanks to the rabbi's gift, a vibrant center of light and spirituality within that realm. And so it is that listening deeply and treating those around us and ourselves with great respect might start to change the world. I'm going to close with these words from the Reverend Scott Taylor, after which, hang on if you're here for sharing circles, and you'll be put into the appropriate group. Again, this is from the Reverend Scott Taylor, and it's titled, "Who We Listen to is Who We Become." Sometimes it can be so loud, hard to hear those voices you once knew so well, voices that knew you so well. It's said silence heals us, but silence also holds us together. So pause while we can, while this sweet space gives us room to listen, to hear the echoes of memories that make us whole, the pain of others that reawakens our hearts, the beauty of wild woods that want us back. We don't just listen for clarity and guidance. We listen to become larger. Those voices calling us home are our home. We don't have conversations, we are our conversations. We must remember, friends, who we listen to is who we become.